Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hope you're having a great day. I know I always start off with that, and I really do sincerely hope you're having a great day. Last night was our first mountain bike race of the season, and excuse me for 1 second. If you followed me for a little bit of time, I really thoroughly enjoy that. It's one of those times where I can catch myself saying to myself, "I can do this. I can do this." And if you're struggling right now, this time of the year, with, I don't know whether I can do this, I don't know whether I can sell automobiles, and I don't know whether I can pay the bills, I don't know how long I can tolerate these tire kickers, and if you're in power sports, throttle snappers, and if you're in bicycle sales, it's lever squeezers, and recognize that in any industry, there are those individuals who just are not ready to make the decision yet. And that's the reason why I really want to cover off prospect harvesting, because when you can balance your pipeline with the intentional shopper, the people who are calling in and emailing as e-leads and walking into the showroom, who are the most fickle of all of the shoppers, who are driven by the desire to own your product. Unquestionably, they all want it. And as we well know, they've ascended the buying steps, and they're now in front of you, and they're reaching out to you, and they're talking to you on the phone. The challenge is, when you do everything right, when you're taking them through the activities that lead to the sale, and you confirm that at the sales desk in the sales tower with your boss, and the customer still is uh, evasive and avoiding you, and able to convince you that they just need to go home and sleep on it. They just need to go home and talk it over with their dad, their mom, their mechanic, their coworker, whoever the other automotive authority is beside you. They just need to run it by them first. I get it. It beats you up. It beat me up when I was doing it for a living, just like you, selling automobiles. And then I became a manager, and then I purchased my own dealership, and then I wrote this material while going through each one of those steps. Remember, I wrote the material while I was selling, or I refined the material while I was leading. I perfected the material when I had my own dealership, and then I took it a step further by taking it to Mercedes-Benz, Honda, Hyundai, Acura, I've mentioned Mercedes-Benz, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, just to mention a few. And then, of course, a ton of other dealer groups and dealerships individually. But the bottom line is that this time of the year, when it's our time to make hay and because the sun is shining, and customers aren't responding the way we want them to, just to say yes. And we've tried every trick in the book, and we've tried every talk track that we've ever been given. The bottom line is, if you can balance your pipeline of leads with traffic you can control versus traffic you don't control. You don't control the leads that are walking in the showroom, the e-leads, and the call-ins. But you do control the traffic that is found in your portfolio of your dealership. And of course, if you've been in the business for 6 months or more, and maybe you've been struggling for 6 months, 2 years, 10 years, that is, my heart goes out to you. I completely understand that. I've seen it a lot. You can change that all immediately and quickly. Number one, you change it by following these sessions, which is terrific. But these 30-minute sessions, and the only reason they're 30 minutes is that's what you have told me, that you've got enough time in the day to be able to sit down and watch it, because you got to get on to everything else that's going on. This isn't quite enough. You're not part of the manifesto. The manifesto is a collection of high achievers that are all in the pursuit of reaching their maximum potential. Now, I make the reference to 10, 20, and 30 vehicles per month with predictable consistency, and I'm not fooling around. I don't take that very lightly. There's lots of them in there that are selling more than 30 vehicles per month. Like my good friend Glenn, who's over 60 per month on a regular basis. But for you, the most important thing is coming to the reality of, you can do this. And that's where I really want to be your coach. I really want to walk you through that. And that's what prospect harvesting is all about. So what we're going to talk about is going after intentional buyers. And I shouldn't say intentional, because if they were, they'd be in the showroom emailing you and calling you. They are, in fact, unintentional buyers. So unlike the intentional shopper, the unintentional buyer will trade in and up for shiny, newer, faster, the latest and greatest technology if they knew how affordably they could do so. You demonstrate that affordability factor through step number 3 of the manifesto, those presentation secrets, building that value bridge from what their old vehicle's not doing to what the new one can do. And so with prospect harvesting, you balance a pipeline of customers by following up. And you follow up in 2 capacities, unsold traffic and sold traffic. Now, both of these traffic sequences are traffic and leads that you control. So that's the great news. The reason why I started this lecture, dissertation, or conversation with you off with the mountain bike racing that I like to do is last night is the very first race. And it's really quite entertaining because everybody lines up on the start line. And these are guys and gals that I've raced with, some of them for 20 years and more, and others that I've been racing with for 5 years or so. And some of them I grew up with their dads and their moms, and they were young racers racing with my children, and now they're young adults and they're kicking my anatomy, if you know what I mean. And I caught myself last night. We were doing 2 laps of a technical course because of the windstorm and the freezing rainstorm that we had a month ago. It still is very difficult to clean up the bush for these single track trails. And so half of the riding center is open. And therefore they said for the higher end riders, for the more expert riders that ride a very long, challenging course way out back, that is nowhere close to being ready to be ridden, let alone raced. We did 2 laps of a shorter course with some young, inexperienced riders on it, which made it really quite interesting. And keep in mind, this is all for fun. We call it World Cup Wednesday night. But anyhow, some people take it too seriously. And I caught myself on the second lap. And remember, this is at maximum heart rate. So it's a sprint race. I'm trying to keep up with some people that are much younger and much better riders than I am. And as long as I can see them and I'm happy with my distance, and then beating a couple of my buddies, which is super fun to do. But the bottom line is I got to that point last night where my legs are screaming, my heart is pounding, my chest can't open up enough to get oxygen in. And then my mind starts playing tricks with me like, what are you doing this for? Why are we doing this? This is so hard. This isn't fun. And when we just go for a ride with the guys on a Saturday morning or a Wednesday evening or a Tuesday evening ride, there's no prize to be won. There's no start line, finish line. There's no mass start. We kind of just meet in the parking lot, get chatting. Everybody's changed. Then we go, okay, everybody ready to go? And off we go and we start doing our ride. This is different, right? We get out there, put a number plate on the bike, and you go. And when you're on the race course, you've got to have some positive talk with yourself. And that's what prospect harvesting is all about. What the positive talk that I had with myself last night was, you can do this. You can beat that guy. You can stay with that girl. You've got this, Harv. You've been here. It's hurt before. You can do this. And that's why I started this session today, this free training session here in the private members group at the Auto Sales Academy and the Auto Dealership Academy on YouTube, as well as the Auto Dealership Academy on LinkedIn. You may have to talk to yourself. And if you struggle with talking to yourself about this and you just can't get over the fact that maybe you're not cut out for it, maybe other salespeople in the dealership have been at it longer than you have. So they've got a portfolio and their customers are coming in, and that portfolio is made up of lease and finance and expiring warranties. And it's so much easier to sell a lease person because they have to bring the vehicle back and they have to make a decision, be it purchase the vehicle out or sell it to somebody else or drop it off and pick up another one. And you can come up with all those excuses. And at the end of the day, the reason why you're frustrated and you're not sure whether you can do this or not is because your pipeline is not full of leads that both you don't control and you can control. So when you harvest prospects, even if you've been in the business for 30 days, you can go to the sales manager, you can go to the general sales manager, general manager, even the dealer principal, depending on the size of your dealership. If it's a rural location, you're probably speaking to the general manager / dealer principal. If it's a large metro center, there's probably 4, 5, 6 managers plus 2 general sales managers, then a general manager, any one of those individuals. You could ask them about the salesperson that left last month, last 6 months, a year ago, and just ask for all of the unsold traffic you would like to get caught up with that. And really what you're doing is you're testing your ability, whether you can do this or not. So when you, number one, fill your day with calls, with the attempt to book appointments, and those appointments come in a variety of categories. Number one, it could be to just see the vehicle, learn more about it. Could be to take a credit application and get you approved. Some customers are much more concerned with that than they are actually picking the vehicle. They just don't know whether they get approved. I would say that that particular individuals kind of know that they've got some problem with their credit, and so they don't want to get all emotional about a new vehicle or a pre-owned vehicle, because if they can't get the financing, now they're all excited that they can't have it, and that's demoralizing. So maybe they want to come in and know about that. Maybe they want to come in and do a trade appraisal and find out what their trade is worth, because they probably have looked on Facebook Marketplace or Auto Trader or Car Gurus or Kijiji or Craigslist, and they're seeing what their car is selling for. Therefore, if they could get roughly close to that on a trade-in, then moving up to the new vehicle would only be this much difference. And based on that difference, divided by the number of payments that they're familiar with taking in the past at a 0% loan, this becomes affordable. Make no mistake, customers do this today. You can watch umpteen number of videos on how to lease a vehicle for consumers. You know, what is the advantage of leasing versus conventional bank financing versus paying cash versus using your line of credit? So there's lots of opportunities for them to find out, not to mention the original equipment manufacturer's website all has build and price where they can calculate monthly payments for themselves. And make sure if anybody's doing that, you tell them to look for the checkbox to click off include taxes. So it isn't a complete surprise when they come into the dealership. I think the OEs are crafty in that capacity to show and create that irresistible offer that this is only how much it's going to cost you, until we become the bad guys and gals and have to tell them, well, that doesn't include the features and the fees and the taxes. So if you've got anybody, friends or family, that go through that exercise and then get frustrated when they wind up in the showroom, it's their fault, not ours. Okay, it's quite simple and plainly obvious. If they read, albeit it's in a little bit smaller print, check the box, they would get the information that they're looking for. Regardless, the point that I want to make is, when you harvest repeat buyers to the dealership, if you are starting out in your career, this is the easiest and the fastest way for you to fill a funnel. This is where average ordinary automobile sales trainers fail. This is where they fail you. They talk about closing and negotiation and make the hasty general assumption that you already have a full pipeline of people rolling in the showroom, calling and emailing in. And while you may well have that, especially this time of the year, the second quarter of the year, this is our time to make hay because the sun is shining, the nights are getting shorter, the days are longer, the weather's nicer, the lot is dry, there isn't snow to be able to move around or sweep off the cars, and Sundays are beautiful so people can get in and have a look at that favorite product that they would like to have. This is your time to make it. But those shoppers, those intentional shoppers, are the most fickle of the entire bunch. And so what frustrates you, and you label them as tire kickers and wish to debate with me that every shopper is not a buyer, Bill, is because you're focused on one thing. You're dealer centric. Your focus of every shopper is a buyer is on the fact that they didn't purchase your new or pre-owned automobile. But every shopper is a buyer. Because if you don't close them on the spot, or if you don't close them in the next 72 hours, then they're buying the automobile that they're currently driving. They're going to continue making the payments on the automobile that they're currently driving. That's why I say every shopper is a buyer. Unquestionably, every single one of them are. Anybody who reaches out to you has transcended the steps in order to be able to get to you. Keep in mind, make no mistake, we have the uncanny ability to talk people into automobiles that they don't really want, colors they don't really love or even like, with features that they don't really need or want to have, at payments that they can't afford. After all, they tell us that on a daily basis. We have the ability to do that on a regular basis. So now, when you want to start having fun selling automobiles, doing what you love, loving what you do, Start dealing with people that you've already earned the know, like, and trust badge of honor with. Those individuals that know you are the automotive authority. They don't have to go home and talk it over with mom or dad, their mechanic, their coworker, their other automotive authority that perceives to be the right person to speak to. They don't need to think about it when they know you know your stuff. What you're telling them is factual. It's not hyperbole or made up or slimy, tricky talk tracks. It's just English and using math to show them how affordable this vehicle will be. As I've said before, the biggest mistake that you can make with any intentional shopper or unintentional buyer, and this is the mistake you make with unintentional buyers, and the reason why you don't close unintentional buyers, which are repeat referral network service department upgrades, is because you say something silly like, there's really no change from the 2025 back to the 2023. It was introduced, the 2023 is introduced in 2022 as the new model, and therefore it is still the same body style now. That's the biggest, silliest, most foolish. I can use a whole lot more adjectives and modifiers and verbs to describe that, but that's the biggest mistake that average, ordinary automobile salespeople make. So right now, today, don't do that. Stop. What you can do instead is say the model is still similar to last year in terms of appearance, but that's as far as it goes. The model itself, an F-150 is not an F-150 that was first conceived 27, 30 years ago. The F-150 is, and it's even older than that, the F-150, the F-100 model, gosh, I think that takes us back into the 60s. The F-150 is just the name. There's a huge difference between a 2019 F-150 and a 2025 F-150. There's a difference between a 2023 and a 2025. There's a difference between a 2024 and a 2025. If anything, if the consumer is only considering a similar trim level higher or lower, there's going to be a difference. And that's the point that I want to make. When you're harvesting these prospects of repeats, referrals, network, service department upgrades, be careful what you say, because if you say something silly like there's really no difference, then if their payment is going up 40, 50, 100, 200, 300, 400%, not unusual for a biweekly to go up 400% if the client has a 2013 model and they're trading in it right now. Remember, that's only 11, 12 years old, right? Now, that seems like really, really old to us on the lot. I know that. I know you're thinking the average age of an automobile out there is probably 4 years old. It is not. Average age of an automobile in North America is 16 years old, Canada and the US. Keep that in mind when somebody is considering moving to your product, that there is a difference. Every single year, the manufacturer upgrades something. Many things that we cannot see, many things that won't be obvious and certainly be easily identified as a differentiator, the reason why they should move forward to purchase it. But the point is, the manufacturer did do something, and that's the value bridge. So when you're talking to, and it's not so much talking to repeat referral in your network as well as the service department upgrades, it's when you're harvesting those prospects. There are going to be prospects in there that will trade every 6 months. I call them the 6 month plus a day club. 6 months plus a day, because as manufacturers, as you well know, I've worked for the manufacturer, Mercedes-Benz, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, just to name a few, Honda and Acura, as well as Hyundai and Kia, that as manufacturers, certainly in Canada and the United States, we don't want that vehicle being shipped out of the country. When the manufacturer determines a provision for allotment of product to any one country, that's based on the demographics and the desirability and the production schedule. When vehicles go out of the country or come into the country, that mixes it up. So this is the reason for the 6 month plus a day. We want customers to at least keep the vehicle for 6 months. Then after that, we really can't control it. It's a free market. You don't have a lot of customers that want a vehicle for only 6 months, but I'll bet you got a few. And this is how you harvest them. You go through your portfolio and you have a look at, number one, who can afford to do so? Number two, who would want to do so? And that will determine the trim level and the particular model. And as you can imagine, it's probably a very luxurious vehicle. That makes it desirable in other markets, either within your state and province or your country or cross border. And at that point in time, it's the free market and it's allowed to go wherever it is going to go. Now, that's not with every single manufacturer. There's some limitations. And obviously, the tariffs are going to play a role in all of this. But the bottom line is some customers do like to trade their vehicle that frequently. Not to mention, you may have an owner, you may have a prospective buyer within your pre-owned portfolio that would like to buy a slightly used vehicle, never abused, gently driven for 6 months or so. They want someone else to take the depreciation so that they don't have to pay the retail amount of what that vehicle is going to cost. So the 6 month plus a day works, regardless of transborder shipments, regardless of different dollar values, and regardless of trade and tariffs and all the rest of it. You can do the 6 month plus a day.